Big D Entertainment, in association with Dipsy Doodle Productions, presents The Dave Holly Hour. Brought to you by The Sky Lounge and Tea, XL Chiropractic, Quality Nails, Ale Hop Brewery Tours, and Jesse Moffitt Entertainment. The Dave Holly Hour features Sioux Empire Arts and Entertainment conversations and has been recognized by the Sioux Falls Stage Awards with a special distinction for promoting the arts. A true lover of arts, entertainment, good food, and fun times, including an occasional Jack Daniels. Okay, so a few Jack Daniels. Here he is, Dave Holly.
Welcome, everybody. Great to have you along for episode number 105 as we talk about Sioux Empire Arts and Entertainment. We're going to be talking dance. We're going to be talking stage. We're going to be talking comedy, roasts. I could really go for a good beef roast like my wife makes, but that's a different type of roast that we're talking about. Anywho, what's coming up today? We will later in the show be speaking with Emily Wilson. She is an actor, an improv comedy, but is she also headed to stand-up? We'll discuss. And then coming up in just a few minutes, Lisa Conlin from Conlin Choreography, also from Lyra Dance Company, and a few other things that she's involved with. And one of her dancers for this upcoming show, Ragan O'Connor. They'll be here to tell us about Blue Heaven. We see what that's going to be all about. Looking forward to that. But, of course, we have to start things off right on a Thursday. Time to grab your favorite beverage, lift it high, and toast it to being Thursday, a.k.a. Weekend Eve.
Hey, the weekend isn't around the corner, it's here!
So long, hump day, and your frumpy way. We say hello to Thursdays with opening nights. The weekend is near, and we can see the bright lights. Yes, Thursday, you're so hearty, we can't wait for Friday, so a day early, we start the party. This Weekend Eve toast is as much a salute as a toast, but we will lift them up high to everyone that's ever put on the uniform in the United States Armed Forces. It is Veterans Day, 11/11. Perhaps you're even listening at the 11th hour. But if you find a veteran today, if you run into one, speak to one, salute them, say thank you for your service. And let's not just make it those veterans that, obviously will, have stories about their service and so forth. But what about our locals? The fire department, the police department, the first responders. Let's, we're not going to, say that they're part of the Veterans Day celebration because that is meant for the veterans. But let's just think about the same type of people that do extraordinary work in our community and salute and toast all of them. And the Weekend Eve Toast has been brought to you by Ale Hop Brewery Tours. Hey, you need a great holiday idea? How about getting on Ale Hop Breweries Tours? And they'll let you and your friends choose any of the 8 local breweries, or they added recently Glacial Lakes Distillery if you're looking for a little stronger spirit. We've got spirit. Yes, we do. We got spirit. How about you? Best part, they take care of the driving in a very cool van, sits up to 6. So private tours can be booked online, alehopbrewerytours.com. If you're already out and about on the weekend, hop on one of their public tours. For more info, call 605-777-2183. That is 605-777-2183. Take it from others. One said, I would recommend this tour to anyone, beer lover or not. Thanks for the great experience. You can have a great experience with Ale Hop Brewery Tours, where micro fans meet micro brews. What else do we do on a Thursday? Honorable mention. Yes, a little shout-out time to something that made me smile, laugh, giggle, guffaw, maybe tears of joy. Well, I tell you what, Good Night Theater can provide all of these emotes anytime. I talk about them a lot, I know, and I'm not going to apologize for that because they're good. And they also happen to put on a lot of performances throughout the year. And talk about professional. Now, this shout-out isn't so much for Goodnight Theater Collective, although they always deserve it. We took in Little Shop of Horrors, their most recent production. Now, just a few days before opening night, a major cast member fell ill. Now, Luke Tacci, who's one of the founding members of Goodnight Theater Collective, usually is not on stage. But he did come through after just, I believe, 3 rehearsals with the cast. He took care of that part. You know, I don't believe that he was an understudy or anything per se, but he did it. And from what I also understand, Luke hadn't been on stage for, a few years. So, Luke, you are such a marvel anyway with everything that you do for that theater company and for Sioux Falls Stage Magazine and Sioux Falls Gallery and everything else you do to promote the arts. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and a very, very well-deserved honorable mention. I even threw in an extra syllable for you there from the Dave Holly Hour. So what's coming up later on in the show? In fact, she's been in a couple of productions with Goodnight Theater before. That would be Emily Wilson. She is an actor. She does improv comedy. And, we throw the little bait out there on the line on that hook and see if she takes it about doing some stand-up. In the meantime, they'll be standing, but they'll be moving a lot. A couple of great dancers. We have Lisa Conlin and Ragan O'Connor. They will be talking about the show Blue Heaven that they're going to be doing next week. We'll give you all the details on it coming up next on the Dave Holly Hour.
Dr. Perry Langston and Dr. Corey Tooney know excellence is in you. That's why they provide you with excellent care at XO Chiropractic, improving your overall health in spirit, body, mind, and will. Get results the natural way. Arrange a consultation, 605-332-9235 or xochiros.com. Excellent care for excellent people. XO Chiropractic, located at 4309 South Racket Drive in Sioux Falls.
Sure, they have darts, and you've heard me talk about how ruggedly handsome the trivia host is, but all caps fun never stops at the Sky Lounge and Tea. And fun is best had with your friends enjoying live entertainment, as in live and local. Yeah, the Sky Lounge believes in giving you the best bands, solo artists, and comedians from the area. The Neo Johnsons, Elizabeth Hunstead, Skylar Volks, as well as many others. And a great staff will make sure you enjoy your fun at the Sky Lounge in Tea, South Dakota.
The Dave Holly Hour. Like eavesdropping on a great conversation between 2 very interesting people.
Welcome back, everyone. So appreciate you listening. I always want to say tuning in, that's it. 25 years of broadcasting that comes back from time to time. But clicking or whatever you do to make sure that you get the Dave Holly Hour, it comes out every Thursday. You might be listening to it at 3 a.m. on a Monday. Who knows? But whatever, I'm just thankful that you do. We just surpassed 6,300 downloads, and we are now on to episode number 105. And you know how I so often say, it's such a pleasure when I start to introduce somebody. Well, we're going to do such a pleasure and great to meet you today because Lisa Conlin from Conlin Choreography is back with us. How are you?
I'm awesome, Dave.
Thank you. I always tell people you are.
Oh,
people will ask,
so
what about Lisa Conlin? I said, she's awesome. And I'll tell a story about that in just a moment as to how awesome you are. And dancer Ragan O'Connor.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming along with Lisa. I've always known any time that we get together, it's going to be a great conversation. Mm-hmm. And you walk in and it's like, we got a firecracker. We're going to have fun today, aren't we?
We sure are.
All right. And we're going to talk about Blue Heaven, a big show that you have coming up with some performances yet this week. But before I tell or start to talk about that, I just want to tell the story of how much I appreciate you. Did you know that I recently had a party for my 100th episode and second year anniversary? It was on a Sunday afternoon. This lady right here, in between rehearsals, came out just to say hi and just to wish me well. And I love that about you. Thank you so much, Lisa. You have no idea what that meant.
Oh, you are welcome. And, you do so much for our arts community, and everybody just loves you, and I love you and your spirit. And I just wanted to say thank you to you that day. So I made that effort.
Well, I appreciate it. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you might have been the first one ever to ask if you could be on. Because you had an event coming up, and it's like, hey, can we have some time for this? And it's like, of course. And so now, there are others that are following suit on that too. So everything just keeps building, and it's so fun, and we get to talk about arts and entertainment. And one of the things that I didn't know a lot about prior, because, I do have a little granddaughter, but I never had any girls and never had any children on my own that would be in dance. And so it's been fun because last year I saw your performance. It's like, wow, these people are really good. And there's a lot of them. And they're on stage a long time. They're out there quite a bit, working their tails off. And now you have Blue Heaven. So what is this show about? First of all, let's tell people Thursday night, 7 p.m. at Embrace at their Sertoma campus. And then Saturday at the Washington Pavilion in the Schulte Room, 2 p.m. and 7 p.m.
Correct.
So opportunities to get out there and see it. What is Blue Heaven going to look like? What's it going to be about?
So Blue Heaven is a show that I choreographed actually in 2012. So it's a remount show. And it's a 1-hour dance theater show, no intermission.
Okay.
So you got to get all your stuff before the show. And I have 17 amazing, amazing dancers in the show. Ragan's one of them. She is just gorgeous in the show. And the show is about the 7 stages of grief. I lost both my parents a while back to cancer. And then shortly after that, my mother-in-law and some really good friends, and I didn't know what to do with all this grief that I was experiencing and this loss. And so I ended up choreographing a full-length show about it. And the show takes you on so many different emotions. So even if you haven't lost somebody close to you, maybe you have loss with, with the pandemic, with relationships or a job or your home, or you're struggling with something. It's a show that has a lot of messages kind of weaved in. So there's show about connection, or a piece about connection. There's dancing in the darkness, and then how you dance out of the darkness and how you weave yourself back into society. And there's all different kinds of styles of dance in the show. I think the basis, I would say, is contemporary, but there's little flavors of ballet that Maddie Ellis does, beautiful ballet solo. And then there's some really cool improvisation. I gave the dancers, Ragan is in that section of the healing. She and Ashley do a beautiful duet. And I gave them some movement with this prayer, but then they also are telling their own personal stories. So all the dancers actually have had some kind of loss. And depending on where it is in the show, some of them get to share that story either through a voiceover, through a eulogy, or through dance. So there's a lot happening in a short amount of time for the show.
Yeah, so 1 hour, so it's pretty compact.
Yes.
17 dancers. How many pieces then make up that hour?
So I think it's 10. I want to say it's 10 pieces.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's going to be great. Look forward to it. And so, Ragan, first of all, how long have you been dancing?
Oh gosh, I've been dancing since I was 3 years old. Lisa is actually one of my teachers that I had growing up. I was lucky to be her student, and I still am. And now I get to work closely with her, so it's great to be full circle.
Yeah. Not only work closely with her, but also do some teaching.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fantastic. That's great. So tell us what you enjoy about dance.
There are too many things to say. To be honest with you, I could talk about it for hours, but
well, it's a podcast. We don't have a time constraint.
Very
Go
true.
ahead.
I would say freedom of expression and learning how to tell stories through your emotion, through your body connectivity. You can really move a lot of people just by being so in tune with what you're trying to convey. I think that's really powerful. And I also love teaching to kids who need a safe space and an outlet. That's also really important to me, because everybody deserves that. Everybody deserves to find joy in everyday life. So that's my favorite thing about dance.
All right. So Lisa and also Raina and I talk about this often, about the different pieces, how many people are involved and so forth, and costume changes. So how many pieces in the show are you involved in, and how many costume changes does it involve?
Oh my gosh, I'm in 7.
Seven out of 10?
Yes. Oh my gosh, Lisa, thanks for figuring that out for me. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't remember. Yes. So not a lot of costume changes, mainly like prop changes. So, we have a beautiful dance called Acceptance, where some of us have to put on white gloves. I won't give too much away, but there's a little prop change there, getting on tables and chairs and things like that. So it's compact and you got to be ready to go. So you can't have too much on you.
Do you have a favorite piece in this?
I do. My favorite part is probably last moments into the eulogy section. Last moments is it's a beautiful way to open up the show. It's really heartfelt. It's really raw. So it gives you a very good understanding of what's going to happen right away. And then for the eulogy section, I get to talk about my brother who passed away when I was in high school. So it's a way to honor and talk about one of my favorite people.
Yeah. And, Lisa, you just mentioned it, that, each one of these dancers that'll be in that piece are going to be, representing a loss of someone. Is dance the most personal of mediums as we express ourselves? Because all art is expression, making music is expression, and so forth. But do you feel that dance kind of gives you this let go of everything feeling?
Oh, for sure. And I think it's kind of hard to say just dance, because I feel like the music kind of inspires me.
True.
So music to me is so inspiring to create the expression with dance. And then with my work, because it's so theatrical, I bring in a lot of text work. So in the show, there's text work with the eulogies, live reads, but then there's also voiceovers that we pre-recorded. So people get to know the dancers on a personal level. And so I think you can really connect to the dancers as the show goes on, and as the story goes on, you get to know each dancer. And I think that's kind of really special. And then the dancers get to know each other even more by listening to the stories. And actually, there's a dancer that Kelsey Nelson, she was supposed to be in the show, and she got pregnant, and she was still going to be in the show because she was just had her baby this fall, but then she moved away. And I kept her live voiceover in the show because it's a live voiceover about her father. And it's such a cool story that she told. And she and I are good friends, but we happened to have a conversation, and I said, is it okay if I still leave that in? I really don't want to edit it out because I still want to feel your presence in the show. And I kind of like that.
What a great tribute.
Yeah, yeah.
And, it's funny how things kind of work and click and so forth. First of all, as you were talking, all I could think of was my favorite word that's come out of this podcast over 2 years, collaboration, for one thing. But also, it's funny you're talking about eulogies. My good friend Mike Henriksen, he and a partner have been putting together some books over the past couple of years called Life Journey. And it's short stories based on different people throughout the state, primarily. And Mike asked me to be in this most recent one that's coming out in a few weeks. And I sat there and, what am I going to write about my life's journey and so forth? And my wife and I went back and forth on it. And then one night we were coming home from someplace, and I said, yeah, it's one of those days where I'm missing Dad. Something sparked and I thought of him. She says, write that. Because originally I was going to give his eulogy. For many years I had planned it until a few years before he passed. Then dementia set in and so forth. And it's like, he's just not the same guy. And I also knew that I probably wouldn't make it through.
Right.
So I finally wrote the eulogy. And that's what I wrote about. So I'm very interested in this particular piece then when I come see your show. But because there are all the steps of grief.
Yes.
And so we're going to go from all that, including the depression, which regrettably way too many people suffer. Way too many of those people deny it. Mm-hmm. And so there's that aspect that's very, upfront right now socially.
Yes.
But also then the fact that we're going to move on and keep going and so forth. And so that kind of gave you, the obviously a sketch of what to go with. But what did you start picking out musically and then, rhythmically?
Right. Yeah. So since I have done the show before, when I first started it, I worked with a composer. So some of this music is composed by Mike Hallenbeck, and he lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota. He's a professional composer, and he's wonderful. He and I have worked on other shows together and gotten a composer's grant, a collaboration grant together in Minnesota. And so half of the music is composed. So the anger section, he composed that with actually one of the dancers when I did the show before, was a guy named Brian Evans, and he recorded his voice, and there's like an anger voice in the background and it's like the oddest piece of music I've ever had to work with. And so when he first sent it to me, I remember kind of freaking out.
Did you want to call him up and say, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I did. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do with this piece of music, because I was so used to choreographing things that are in sixes and eights and counts, rhythm. You're talking rhythm. And this is, you cannot count it. It's all these different sounds. And, but it really was great for me to step out of my box as a choreographer. And that actually was set on Brian as a solo. But what I like about it now is I have a completely different cast. When I did it the first time around, there were 7 dancers. Now there's 17. And so I turned it into a duet. And to me, that story, I created my own story in my head about husband and wife losing a child for that anger section. So, but yeah, so that was a challenge, that piece of music. And then I actually just started listening to, whenever I'm choreographing a piece, I always start listening to music. And the music that really does something to me inside, that really moves me, is what I want to use. Because then I feel like the dancers can relate to it, and I feel like the audience can relate to it. But it has to have a certain atmosphere that matches what I'm trying to say with that piece of, with that scene or with that dance, that particular piece. So, so I just picked out some different pieces of music that I felt like a piece of music that I felt fit the denial section. So I picked that music out. Mike did the anger and the orphans section. And the orphans, too, is very unusual music. So that's what's kind of cool about the show, too. When people come, I think a lot of musicians would really love the show, because there's just so many. There's kind of classical music, but then there's like really fast-paced music. And I don't know if Ragan has any other thoughts on the music in the show, but
it's beautifully random is how I would put it. In the best way. It keeps you guessing of how can you relate to this? And it fits perfectly. Like the anger section she's talking about, you wouldn't believe the sounds that are in it, but it makes you feel that. Like you understand, like if anger was a music, that is what it would be. But it keeps you guessing, keeps you invested, and it really fits the pieces really well.
So as someone that has gone through these steps of grief and dancing to it, what was the one that felt most personal? And then what was the one that you said, okay, I can just let this go?
Probably anger, because I find myself, for the first question, anger I related to a lot because I continually find myself being angry, like at the drop of a hat. I mean, it's been 9 years since I've lost my brother, and some days I just wake up and I'm so angry. Yeah. And so I can relate to that, even though I'm in the ensemble watching, Thomas and Raina who do that duet. I understand their pain. I understand what they're conveying, and I completely understand it. The piece where I could let go is definitely like healing and integration, getting back into society, having the support of your community. It's in dance, you have these amazing people that get you on a totally different level, and just to be able to dance with them and really give thought away and just move is really, really powerful.
How good of a teacher is she?
Very good. And she's very patient,
And
which is
director
great.
and producer and everything else along with it.
Lisa's very patient. Thank the Lord for that, because this music, back to the music, is very hard to count. So when we were first learning it, I will raise my hand and say, Lisa, I don't get it. And she was very patient, and especially because it's so personal, you kind of almost have to treat it a little more delicately, because everybody is at a different stage in their process. So
Very true.
There's never a moment where you didn't feel support or you didn't feel understood. It's a very collaborative process, which, makes it easier to come to rehearsals, because I've had rehearsals where it's not like that at all. It's very cut and dry. This is what you want. This is how you do it. And that wasn't this past process.
And I think too, with the dancers that are in the show, all of them are in Lyra or have been in the Lyra Dance Theater Company. So we all know each other fairly well, and we're kind of already a family.
So some of that chemistry that you always look for is already there.
Yeah, exactly. And, and we have a lot of the ballerina teachers are in the show. And Caitlin is a teacher at Dance Gallery. Thomas teaches at
Dynamic
in Brandon Valley. And so I think it's cool too, like for students to be able to come and see their teachers dance, because you don't always, as a teacher, you're so busy teaching all the time that you don't always get to perform. And, with Lyra, we do our big show in the summer, but then a lot of people are out on vacation and gone. So not everybody can always come to the show. And so I think it's a great opportunity for the teachers and professionals to be able to have another experience, another chance to show their stuff, if you will, on stage, because so many of them are so talented. And, Ragan got her BFA, her dance, and a lot of them, have gone on to dance professionally and, have danced on, you've danced, where did you dance out east again?
I got to dance at the Kennedy Center twice
through
my college experience.
Which I'm so jealous of that. I'm like, I never got to do something like that kind of a thing. I mean, I danced in other places, but that just sounds so amazing to me. So, we just have so many talented people, dancers, artists in our show. So,
and it's always so great to see new people as well. Obviously you've got a lot of people that you've been working with over the years, but still each time we go out as an audience, we see somebody that we haven't seen before. And we see how well they fit in, and that's obviously a tribute to you, but also, Ragan, it's obviously a tribute to the dancers themselves. And what do you enjoy about dancing with others? Most of us, we like to think that at some point we can dance a little bit on our own, or at least, when it's a wedding dance, we all go out and we do something stupid with a little drink behind us.
Right.
But when you're not doing that, and when you have to be part of an ensemble, but yet you have pieces that are improv, what's it like to have that all come together?
It sounds so corny, but it's literally magic.
Yeah.
It is. It really is. I mean, I remember having those experiences in college where, you kind of turn the lights down low, you put on a random song and you just go for it. And what you create is just so raw and organic. And it's the same thing here. There's a lot of trust within this family that we've created. So really anything goes, and you just kind of just go with it. And it creates this magical environment and feeling that just gets you excited, and it gets you really hyped up, and you just are like, let's go, let's do it,
I have to interject here too, because we just had a Blue Heaven rehearsal yesterday, and there's a courtroom scene that we do. And so I tried to bring in humor into the show, because it is material that can be kind of hard and heavy. So I tried to do all kinds of emotions, but Ragan's in that courtroom scene, and they are so into their character, and then they took it to a whole new level last night. And so I think even for kids coming to the show, they would really enjoy the show, because they could relate to some of the scenes that are funny and things like that. And then it's them having that trust with each other, and them going, okay, we're just going to go with this and see if Lisa likes it. And they know I'll just be like, that either, you guys got to pull back on that, you're going too far. And it was awesome.
I loved
so
it. Much fun. It was a good time.
Ragan, what gives you the most pleasure in dance?
I just keep going back to connection. I think, and dance is a very hard career to stay into. It's it can be very draining, mentally mentally, emotionally, physically, and the connection is what gets me through. Knowing I get to spend time with Lisa, or some of my best friends are a part of this company. Because you become so close, and also expression through your body language. It's really cool what you can tell with your body.
Yeah. And to do that while basically doing a 60-minute workout.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yep. It's a lot of cardio. We've all talked about getting our endurance up, and hopefully it pays off.
Speaking of time and so forth, then, Lisa, how long did this one, because you already had the basis of it from having done the show before, but revamping, different cast, some new music and so forth, things like that. From that concept point to now, how, and tell us, how many rehearsals and weeks of rehearsal and so forth there was all in that.
Yeah, so I had a meeting with the cast back in November, and it was pandemic time, so we were all at the Daily with our masks on, and we just talked about what the show was going to be, and then we started rehearsals in January. So we did January to May, probably 3 times a month. Not everybody was called at every rehearsal, just depending on what scenes they're in. So 2 to 3 times a month from January to May. And then we took the summer off because, again, a lot of our cast are Lyra dancers, and we are going full throttle with Lyra in the summer. And then we just picked it back up again in September and have been going 2 or 3 times a month, September, October, and now November. So we have 11 days until we open.
Yep.
Yeah. So
it's getting real.
Yeah, and most of our rehearsals are 2 to 4 hours, just depending on what the scene is. So yeah.
All right. So again, Blue Heaven, Thursday, November 18th, 7 p.m. at Embrace at their Sertoma campus. That is at 3211 South Shirley Avenue. And most of you know where the Washington Pavilion is. And then on Saturday, November 20th, 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. And what are ticket prices? What are we looking at?
So I'm glad you asked that. The Sertoma campus is a free event. And in lieu of tickets, we're just doing goodwill donations to 2 nonprofits, Move to Heal South Dakota and Survive It. Both of those nonprofits kind of go with what my show is about, healing in the arts.
I was going to say hand in hand, but we're talking dance, so.
Yeah. And then the show came about because both my parents passed away of cancer, and Survive It is the website for cancer patients. And then the Saturday, November 20th, the Pavilion, they're $20 tickets with plus tax and service fees. And I also have to give a shout out to Embrace Church because they are giving me a Run Project grant for this show. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that. That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, it helps when the community gets involved, and obviously the dance community here is something that has continues to grow.
For sure.
And we're getting more exposure for it, and just so thankful that there's so many different opportunities. And I always ask this question, Ragan. Lisa was very familiar with it, so I'll save her. So I'll ask you.
Okay.
You get 2 questions.
Okay.
First one is, when you're not part of the arts and entertainment scene, what do you like to be entertained by?
Oh, I'm a big movie person.
Okay.
I'm a big movie documentary person. For sure.
Docs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love learning.
What's your favorite documentary?
Oh, don't go there.
Is another one of your hour answers?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much. Literally anything. I just love to learn about anything. So docs are great for me.
All right. And then any other hobbies aside from arts and entertainment?
I love to read. I love to be outdoors, fitness, spending time with family. Pretty much anything with people I love. So
all right. Well, I appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And Lisa, always a pleasure. So, we've asked you this question a few times, but sometimes life changes, we change. So, not entertaining, not being part of the art scene, what do you like to be entertained by?
I like to go to the theater, and I was lucky enough. I just won an artist fellowship through the South Dakota Arts Council. So I got to go out to California and hone my craft with a lot of dance classes. But I got to take in Hamilton, and I had never seen that. So that was amazing. So I love theater. And then my husband and I just got to go to a wedding, and I love to hike, and I went somewhere on my bucket list, the Grand Canyon, so I got to do some hiking.
Excellent. So you're both outdoors people.
Yes.
But
Sunshine is great.
outdoors is a little sketchy come November, so that's why these shows will be indoor.
Exactly.
All right.
Right.
Reagan, again, appreciate it. Lisa, always a pleasure. Thank you both so
you.
much.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
your time
much.
today.
Thank you.
And we'll be back with more of the Dave Holly Hour in just a moment. Ladies, when it's time to give your nails some love, get that extra special treatment from Quality Nails on South Minnesota Avenue in Sioux Falls. Manicures and pedicures that look great and make you feel fantastic. Zaya and Tony provide professional care for your hands and feet, whether you just want the basics or an extra special look with added flair. Oh, and guys, it's okay to treat yourself too. Quality Nails. Call for an appointment. 605-334-1463. Welcome back, everybody. It is always a pleasure, as I tell you almost every time that I introduce somebody, to have great artists and creators, actors, singers, musicians, whatever you want, comedy. Well, we got a multi-talented one with us this time. Miss Emily Wilson, welcome back to the show.
Why, thank you.
You were on last year during the pandemic, as I
COVID.
refer to it.
Yep.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so we had to do Zoom.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's too bad because, first of all, I love doing face-to-face with anybody. It's just a better way to have a conversation. Mm-hmm. But you're always wonderful to be around. You're always wonderful to watch on stage.
Oh, thank you.
And so many great things for you. Goodness gracious. Let's first start off with, well, you had a rehearsal tonight, right, for DAPA?
No,
you did
that
not.
was done.
That was done
Tonight
now.
I would have a rehearsal for Sleeping Indoors with Mighty Corson Arts Playhouse.
Right, which
Hopefully
is
I
the
said that
next
right.
thing that you're in.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
In fact, we were looking at it today going, yeah, we want to go to the matinee on Sunday. No tickets available yet, so it's got to be soon, right?
It's got to be soon.
Yes.
I'll make sure
Okay.
you know so you can get your tickets.
Exactly, yeah, because we're going to bring a crew.
Oh, I love it. I
and
love it.
Fun little place over there, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it
Just
is.
adore that. Is Brian directing that?
Brian is not directing.
He's not
Actually,
directing this one.
They're having their first guest director
Okay.
in quite some time, Sarah Harrington, also a local theater person. She has quite the eye for directing. I actually know her from way back in the day in college, and I always enjoyed working with her and letting her direct. And she has a very clear vision. She knows exactly what she wants, and she's gonna knock this out of the park. And I'm just excited to work with her. And Macy Lupica is gonna be in it, and Tanner Sabal and Rob. I'm gonna mess up his last name. Simerenson. I just met him. I'm so sorry, Rob. He's even my husband in the show, and so I just butchered his last name. So it's all good.
No, well, I wouldn't worry about it. Just so long as you remember his character's name then.
Yeah, I got that. Paul.
This is, I give you plenty of kudos for this because I've been in that situation before where it's only a cast of 4. Mm-hmm. So you got a ton of lines, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do. I mean, the bulk of it, it does center around Nora, my character, and how she's being changed by this man she brings home off of the street. He's a homeless man, and he's on the
Christmas
street.
time, right?
Christmas time, yeah. She's this woman who has one child, and he's not coming home for Christmas, and it's just breaking her heart. And she works for 3 different nonprofit organizations, and she's just a person who wants to give love, and then she's kind of not giving it back. And then she brings this homeless guy home, and then it's kind of the story of how his life experiences kind of affect and change each of the characters in a different way, kind of helping them work on kind of their little sticky points and teaching them a lesson in his subtle way about it all. And it's just a beautiful little story and just a sweet little moment of human connection and all those good things of how just one little person can just change your whole entire life and your whole entire trajectory.
And isn't this also the title comes from the fact that sleeping indoors for him is luxury?
Well, actually, it's really interesting in there. They say he says he gets claustrophobic in a way sleeping indoors because he's been homeless his whole life,
right?
And so sleeping indoors for him doesn't feel right. How sleeping outside would feel so wrong for so many of us.
Yeah,
to
like
be
99% of us.
99, yeah. Or it's even like, well, I love camping and I love tenting and stuff like that, but I'm still not, it's still luxury compared to what so many homeless people experience. True. And so for him to talk about sleeping indoors and how uncomfortable it is for him, it just kind of makes you stop and think, like, it's just a totally different life experience. It's a totally different way of being and thinking, and how he doesn't feel safe inside like any of us wouldn't feel safe outside like he feels. So that's kind of where the sleeping indoors comes in, is that it's not even that it's a luxury, it's that it's uncomfortable and uncommon for him.
Right.
And so kind of just, it is a really strange thing.
But what a great premise, though, for a show. Yeah, so look forward to that. Are we going to get the holiday feel of it as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There are definitely going to be Christmas decorations, Christmas music, and ugly holiday sweaters will be all included in this. So
can the audience wear their own on the way?
Please do.
Okay,
Please do. I think you bring all the Christmas joy you want to bring.
Yeah, there we go. Like that.
Yeah.
The first time that I ever saw you perform, I knew about you. I hadn't seen you perform on stage yet. But the first time I actually saw you was when you guys started up Improv Falls.
Oh, okay.
And, I was in an improv group at the time.
Yep.
And you come out, and basically your introduction to that night is you doing a cartwheel. And I'm like, holy crap.
I would.
I'm always looking for a chair to sit on in a scene. And here's this woman with this incredible energy. But it's not just the physical part, because you're a great improv actor.
Thank you.
And it's so fun to watch you, and I'm glad that things are kind of settling down. We can get back to having some shows.
Yep.
Because that's just you guys are magic. You really are when you work.
Yeah.
I did get to do a little improv last weekend. We had a little makeshift show that we did, so that was kind of fun.
It is
It's
so
been
fun.
A few years because I kind of dropped it in order to start the podcast.
Yeah.
But it felt like getting back to it now. So that was great in that respect. But I just admire you guys have so many great professional actors in it anyway. And then the improv part coming in. And it's just a delight to watch. And Debbie Jones is somebody that, I admire as well. And she's great. In fact, I think I said one time that anytime you watch Debbie Jones on stage, she sells every nuance of every movement and line.
She does.
And that's when she knows what the line is and has rehearsed it. And then when you get to see that happen in improv, it's just, wow, this is cool.
She carries conviction with her.
She does.
And I love it.
Yeah.
She does have just great energy, comes right through her fingers and out of her toes, and everything she does just carries it all through. And it is so fun to work with her. And she's studied so many different places, and I have continued to learn so much from her. Like I did study improv in college, and I had a great time with that, and worked with a couple different big names out of Chicago and stuff. But even Debbie has just brought home so much more knowledge to us, and just really enhanced everything that we do. And it's just she's just a hoot to work with. And we've kind of picked up the teaching end of things to kind of help the guys, learn a little bit more and pick up their game and kind of just clean up their nuances and things like that too. So it's been really fun. We do have a show coming up. I'm gonna plug it right now.
Please do.
It's gonna be December 10th out at Boss's Pizza at the Ramada. So 10th, December 10th. It's a Friday.
Oh.
No, Dave, no. Okay.
I'll have to double check.
Okay.
That the December date for trivia down at T is not firm yet. It might be the 17th, but it could be the 10th. So.
Okay. It's the week before sleeping indoors, but we're not doing our typical show this time. We're mixing things up.
Oh.
Yeah, so you might have to...
mixing things up as a secret formula,
No,
or we're going to tell people right now what kind of secrets
going to tell people.
Okay.
So instead of doing our traditional gaming format, we're actually gonna slip ourselves and do a little bit of long form here.
Long form.
Yeah, it's something we've all been kind of wanted to push for, and I said, hey, let's do a Christmas long form show. where we're going to spoof it off of your favorite Christmas movies and kind of bring those to life. And we're going to incorporate a little bit more costume and sound effects and kind of just take it up.
More production value.
A little bit more production value than what we have been doing. And since we've been able to really grow and get a huge audience base based off of our game set, that we're like, hey, let's take it to the next level. Let's just push ourselves, and we want to develop more, and we want to kind of offer more opportunities for different gaming formats.
So I am going to have to shore things up for the December calendar.
Yeah.
Because that just sounds way too damn fun.
Well, we need Santa there, so.
Very true. He's been appearing a lot of places already.
I bet he has. Very busy schedule between November 1st and December 26th.
Yeah,
5th.
Exactly.
Maybe he doesn't retire on the 26th. I don't know.
Oh, he does.
Okay.
Yeah. With a bottle of Jack Daniels.
I would too.
What do you feel you bring to a stage, whether it's improv comedy or whether it's a one of the Good Night Theater collective shows, or it's something from now Premier Playhouse, formerly Sect?
I think I try to bring good energy and intention and the willingness to learn and grow with my cast, and I don't want to come in with any presumptions about anything, because even what you think could be or will be usually is not what ends up happening. So I just want to come with a big openness and willingness to receive and learn from everyone around me and in myself in the process, because everything is always so different. You think you have an idea of what your character's like, and you really get in there and you kind of start to feel them and who they are, and you're like, wow, this is not at all what I thought it was going to be, or try to understand what drives them or what pushes them. And there's a lot of times I'm like, I cannot relate to this person at all, but it's their story, it's their heartbeat, and that's just something I always want to bring as a performer. And then I always just like to be silly and lighthearted, and
But you've played some pretty heavy characters.
Yeah.
Steel Magnolias.
Yeah, Shelby was toughie. Shelby's a toughie.
So what inspiration did you bring for that? Because that's when you talk a drama like that, there's comedic lines in it.
Oh, yeah.
But, when you're talking a well-known show.
Well, I think one of the things is you have to play the truth in Shelby, because everybody knows her story basically from Julia Roberts playing Shelby and Steel Magnolias and all that sort of stuff. But the character Shelby is based off of is a woman who did lose her life after childbirth and diabetes and all this sort of stuff. So it's like, well, there's the cute story and the story of the friendship and this and that, but it's also about a woman who is so driven by the fact that she has so much love to give, that she wants to be a mother so bad that she is willing to do whatever it takes, even dying, just to be a mom for a moment, because that's what her calling is. That's what she feels her life is about, is just that moment of pure love that is between a mother and her child. And she's so passionate about that love, that's what she needs to give to this world, is her love and her love for her child. And different times, I mean, it's kind of weird to think about, in the 80s, how she couldn't have adopted a child because of her medical history. So it's kind of one of those things you always have to think like, okay, different time, different place, different medical history and all that sort of stuff. And how hard it would be to be denied the one thing you want to have, the one thing, because of your medical condition, because somebody deems because you're diabetic that you're not capable of being a mother, and that your body, and I know a lot of women struggle with it, with infertility and other issues like this, that your body is denying you the one thing that you're supposed to be able to do as a woman. And I feel like that's kind of one of those huge motivators too, is to be able to tell kind of that side of things too, about my body is letting me down, and that in itself is really hard. Not to get too in the weeds about things, but it's like I had my own struggles with my own pregnancies and things like this. And so it's also a relatable moment to be like, there's no reason why I should have had the problems I did have. And being able to relate that to Shelby, just different things, but, frustrating and not having an answer and not being able to be like, I can do the one thing women are supposed to be able to do. And that's hard. It's a really hard thing.
When you have a social issue that's part of a play, and a character, what ramifications does that bring to it? that instead of just, hey, we've got, an old Neil Simon play, where we're all going to have a good time, and you kind of know how a Neil Simon play is going to go. But when you jump into something like this, you got to be wrapping your arms around the societal part of it, the acting part of it, the personal part, like you just mentioned, and then how do you get it all to come together?
I think it's one of those things you have to, obviously there's your connections to it, but depending on what you don't agree with or what you don't connect with your character, you have to find the reason it's their motivation. It's their way of thinking and behaving and acting and feeling. Like politically, I wouldn't say I've had too many characters that I don't see how they think, but for me, like Shelby, I'm like, dude, why are you gonna die for that's a struggle for me. I have a hard time with that, but that's not me, that's Shelby. Like, it's so important to her, and so it's just kind of, again, putting myself aside and letting that story come through. Like, when I played Mary, It's a Wonderful Life, there's so many things that Mary does that I'm like, oh, I want to shake her and be like, oh my God, George Bailey's an idiot. Come on, Mary, you can do better. But again, that's one of those things. It's such a different time period too. It's such a different, just different way of thinking and acting and behaving. And so it's like, well, Mary does these things because, again, they're driven out of love for her. She loves George Bailey. She loves her family. She's going to do everything that she can to make those around her happy and thrive and survive. And so it's one of those things that it's just like, I have to put away my preconceived notion of being like, Mary girl, you don't need this in your life, like George is George, and but again, and I can understand how a person who is so compelled by their love for another human being, she's been in love with that man since she was like 5 years old, and she noticed
what I saw the moon for you.
Oh, I know. And it is a sweet story. I always say, everyone thinks George Bailey is the hero of that story. Nah, it's Mary. Yep. It's Mary. She's the one who's pulling it together and making it happen, and she saved him in the end, financially, emotionally, all those sorts of things. She was able to find the way to resolve his situation, that he was too blindsided by his own frustrations with himself and other circumstances to find a solution to it. But then again, maybe his bravado got in the way of being able or wanting to ask for help, because he's never been in that position before, and asking for help is really, really hard.
Very true. And especially back then, it would have been for a male to admit that he would need help.
Admitting defeat.
All the machismo going on back then. But I tell you what, that story does have one of my absolute favorite lines in the show. Attaboy, Clarence.
Yes.
Oh, that'll kill me every time.
I know.
And I'm sure that the movie's going to be played at least a dozen times before Christmas rolls around. And so I'll be crying a lot.
I know. It's such a good one.
Yeah, well, and that's what's fun about, the theater and the arts and entertainment, is it brings emotion. And when you're on stage, is there a particular emotion that, because you've already talked about what you need to do to bring that character, but what are you looking for out of the audience with that character?
Oh, I think it depends on the moment. If your character is being really silly or really, if your character is supposed to be having fun, that the audience is having fun with you, that they're not, hopefully not annoyed by you, or they're not, all those little things, that they're going along with that ride with you, that they're in that moment with you, that they believe what you're telling them, that, at the end of the day, they're going to cry because they're upset for something that happened to your character, or they're laughing, or they're joyful, or they're experiencing those emotions with you. And it just really amplifies the experience. It helps your connection with your scene partner on those things, when you can feel the audience, because you can feel that audience. You can feel when they're going with you, and you can take them with you to the next place, and really believe that they are experiencing the moment of the life of that person that they're watching. And it's an incredible experience. Yeah. I love it. So
we have some fun things we're going to talk about here in just a little bit too, but before that, let's kind of get your take on what has happened in terms of the growth of arts and entertainment in the Sioux Empire.
It's amazing.
It is. What I find is so great, first of all, and this comes up nearly every interview, and you've hinted toward it already, collaboration, not competition. Collaboration is a big word that pops up. But also just the fact that, we've got so many other places we can perform now. And we have the opportunity to be in different groups. Think of everything you're involved in. You're going to be over at Mighty Course and Arts Players. You've been in Sect / Premier Playhouse, Improv Falls, Good Night Theater Collective. And so there's all these different groups, all these different venues. And it just seems to be this. And then here's the thing that goes even above that. The talent level.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little intimidating, Dave.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
Well, obviously, you've got the talent. We know that. You've got the
so.
chops. Oh, no, don't worry about that. What's your downfall on stage? What don't you have?
Singing, I don't sing.
Yeah.
No. I go to these shows and I hear these women belt it out and knock it out of the park, and I'm just like, oh, god dang. I get. I'll be honest. The little green-eyed monster comes out of me. I'm jealous. I'm just like,
I know every time. See, my jealousy is the fact that anybody that can be in a play or a musical where everything has to be remembered. I'm 58 going on 59. That's why I did improv comedy. I finally did a little stand-up this past year.
There you go.
But that's why I did improv instead of stand-up even, because, we're going to make shit up.
But that is so much easier. So in Still Magnolias, I'm gonna tell you a little secret. One of my castmates, she had a really hard time with her lines, and she kind of maybe had some of her blocking mostly on a couch so she could sit with a magazine
in front of her. Yes.
Scripted.
I did that the very first play I was ever in high school.
Really?
Yes, I had just a short bit, Arsenic and Old Lace.
Okay.
And I was the doctor that comes in to certify, who's crazy and who's not. And so I had to have a briefcase. And as soon as that briefcase came up, thank God for highlighters already back then. And there they were, my lines.
There you go. There are some lines that they don't stick and they don't get in your head, and it's so frustrating. You're like, why does this not work?
But like I said, and so you're going to be in that same situation I was, because then in community theater in Rock Rapids one time, I was in a play, a Neil Simon one, ironically, of only 4 characters, and I was the lead. And a couple hundred lines, and it's like, whoa.
Oh, yeah.
Thankfully, there was only one scene that I really had a difficult time with, but that's still, it's remarkable. And then you get the people that can either A, sing and do all this, or B, sing while playing an instrument and doing all this. And we have them. That's what's so great about everything around here.
It's so cool.
Yeah. But, okay, so let's talk some fun stuff.
Okay.
All right. So I put my toe in the water this past year and did some stand-up at a couple of open mics.
Okay.
And actually produced a couple of comedy shows after that because of that. So when is Emily Wilson going to put her toe in the stand-up waters? I don't know. Come on.
I guess maybe my toe in the water. My like tip of my pinky toe will be the Zach Dresch comedy, The Roast.
That's right. Up. Yes.
So that might be my toe in the water.
Have you been working on The Roast already?
I have.
Got some lines.
I have one joke about Zach.
Okay.
That's it. Because I keep thinking him up, and I tell my husband, and he's like, meh. And I'm like, look.
Aren't spouses the worst?
They are
sitting over there.
I know. They're the worst critics.
They are.
But also he's like, he probably has every roast that Comedy Central ever did memories. Like, he just has an amazing memory like this.
So he's put the bar way up there for you.
I'm like, dude, I have never done anything like this before. Like, and I hardly know any of these people. And what am I going to do? Like, I'm going to just make fun of the way everybody looks, because that's all I can be like, is like, I see pictures of you on Facebook and here's something I can make fun of you with, I'm like,
right.
And it's also, again, I think, when you have a celebrity roast, you have a little bit more information about the people, and your audience knows a lot about them too. Like, I can tell jokes about certain people, but I'm like, is this going to be funny to the audience? Because they don't know that.
True.
Skylar Bulks is living alone with his cat. I don't know. Sorry, Skylar, if you are. But it's kind of like, is that going to be funny to the audience because they don't know these like little personal weird quirks about these people? Because at least, when you have, celebrity roast, enough about these people that it can be relatable and funny. So
Right.
I think that's kind of where I'm hitting my head against that brick wall. It's like, I'm like, well, how is this going to be funny to anybody if they don't know this person outside of the situation,
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm because I'm going to be the MC of it.
Yeah.
And so
I'm like, how do I even roast Dave Holly?
Yeah.
How do you roast Santa?
I sent plenty of information to Zach so that he's going to spread it around
Okay.
as to what's fair game with me.
All right. Okay.
So have at it. But that is the thing. It's going to be okay. A lot of people, the people that are going to be at this, either know him personally, work with him, play in a band with him, or one of the 8,000 things he does.
Yeah, right.
Or they've just gone to see him when he's been at Bosses. So a lot of people are going to know those things. But it is tough when you're thinking of roasting somebody of, okay, where do I go on a personal inside joke?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
If
like-
I say this, is this part just going to go?
Yeah. Exactly. So I'm like, yeah, I can make fun of these people. Sure.
Yeah.
I kind of know them enough for that. But is it going to be funny enough to be like, oh, the audience is going to get this? It's not like we can all just sit here, and it's not like we're all, what was her name? Ann Coulter? Was it the one?
Yes.
Where they just, eviscerate her. It was hilarious. But, it's kind of like, I'm like, how much fun can I make in Nate Holtz? A lot, but is the audience going to
Right.
get it? So it's kind of those things like, but as far as
Well.
me getting into stand-up,
I'll already let one of Nathan's that I'm going to be talking about. His brother is my doctor.
so you got a lot of dirt.
Oh, I do.
There's no HIPAA on talking dirt about your brother, right?
Exactly. Well, I think you should make it a goal. Because I think, first of all, I don't think you need to worry.
Okay.
I think that the Zach Duresh roast is going to go off great. And you're going to be great at it.
Thank you.
Because I already know you have humor in you. That's the biggest
That's a
step
good
of
thing.
it.
That's a good thing. Yep.
And I think from that, you're going to say, ooh, I want to try this more. And
Maybe.
then you'll go to an open mic night or something. And then after that, and
just
you've shown how good you are, then I'll put together another show down in Canton or something, and
Okay.
you can be in it.
Okay.
How's that?
It sounds good.
All right.
Just another reason to leave my husband home alone with the kids. Sorry.
And then he can sell the popcorn.
That's right, he can.
All right. I always like to end with two questions.
Okay.
And the first is, when you're not part of the entertainment scene, what do you like to be entertained by?
Well, what do I like to be entertained by? I do really like to read. I like me a good crime mystery page turner. I think those
Oh.
are very, very fun.
Baldacci, Grisham, Thor,
No.
any of those?
No, I can't think of I've just been listening. I've been reading a lot of books by the one I'm reading right now is called The Winter People, and I couldn't even tell you who it's by. It's just I'm just getting into it, and it's like kind of a blend of old, not even folklore, but like the thought of like these creepy people in this creepy place did something and people mysteriously disappear like back in the day, and now it's like modern day and the mom just disappeared, and so now it's going to be like the intersection between these old time stories and these new stories and like
love
the
it.
haunt of the
Right.
the region, and it's always like some dump in the Northeast,
Yeah, some dump like Maine or Vermont.
Well, that's what they're
Who'd want to be there to
playing
fall
it out
for
in this
Christmas?
book as it is. I know. Otherwise, we do try to take in some Netflix, or if I can make it, depending on what else is going on in my life, I'd like to go and support my friends and just see
Right.
the shows that they're performing in and all those good things. So, and then running takes up a lot of my life too.
I was going to say, the other question is, then what about other hobbies? And I know that you run.
I do.
In fact, we got to applaud you during the Sioux Falls Marathon.
Yes.
Yeah, and then also you hike a lot.
I do.
Yeah.
I do love to hike. I am a big outdoor person, and I enjoy being outside. And even this winter, I'm kind of thinking I need to figure out a way to get out there more. You know. Yeah. So running is one of those things I do. My husband and I just ran a half this past weekend, and it was
excellent.
Yeah, it went well, and it's kind of one of those things that was really fun. And I have a good group of friends in town that I enjoy seeing their beautiful faces at 5:30 in the morning, and you know, seeing them in the day with street clothes or makeup on. I kind of don't even recognize them, so it's that's one of the joys of my life. And yeah, I like to be outside and take in nature. So
all right,
yeah,
fantastic. Always a pleasure to see you. Great to chat with you in person.
Yes.
And we have recorded this at Our Wine Bar. And may I suggest the Our Wine Collection Merlot? That's what I always go with. How about you?
Ricardo was kind enough to give me a Pinot Grigio of some nature, and it is light and refreshing, and it's no bitter aftertaste. It's just very smooth and lovely.
Oh, so I like it.
I would tell you what it's called, but Ricardo just kindly served me. So,
right. Cheers to you, Emily.
Cheers
Wilson.
to you, Dave Holly.
And we'll be back to wrap up the Dave Holly Hour in just a moment.
Hi, my name is Jesse Moffitt, and I'm not a piano player. I'm a comic magician and hypnotist. I've been performing for over 20 years. I've performed at many events, corporate events, holiday parties, post-prom parties, graduation parties, state and county fairs, festivals, just about anything you can imagine. The funniest thing about the Magic Act is that I use a ton of audience participation, and that can make things really interesting. Put it down the front of your shirt. Stop being so, I'm not, my hand won't follow it. The best thing about the hypnosis show is that the volunteers and their imaginations really make it a blast.
Holy crap, dude, did you see what you just did? You could do that possibly to girls.
For booking information, go to Jesse Moffitt Entertainment on Facebook. That's JESSEMOFFITT. Or call 605-929-0964. From the Dipsy Doodle Studios at the world headquarters of Big D Entertainment, a 40-square-foot home studio in the middle of America, it's Dave Holly.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. You know what I like to say at this time of the show. Thank you for all the downloads, the shares, the listens, the things you do on social media, liking it, following the page, and so forth. We have surpassed 6,300 downloads now, and we're close to 500 people on the likes on the Facebook page. Don't forget, we're also available on Twitter and on Instagram, so you can check that all out. But thank you. Thank you to my guests, the multi-talented Emily Wilson, the very talented dancers that we have in town, including Lisa Conlin and Ragan O'Connor. But thank you for the man that allowed us to carry on our conversations in his lovely establishment. Thank you, Ricardo. Our wine bar is always a great place to be. And tonight you could be there because it's Thursday night. That means it's jazz at Our Wine. Friday night, Peter and the Starcatcher playing at the Orpheum Theater downtown at 7 p.m. Saturday night, me and the missus and a few others will be out at the Red Rock in Rowena because it's Crazy Frank karaoke time once again. All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate you taking the time to listen. It's always great when you get to the end of the show and you can sit back and say, man, we got a lot of great talent in this community, don't we? And a lot of great people, such as yourself, that like to listen, learn, and just get in the groove about how wonderful arts and entertainment are in your lives. I'm Dave Holly. Remember, for me, every day is a holiday.
The Dave Holly Hour has been brought to you by the Sky Lounge and Tea, XL Chiropractic, Quality Nails, Ale Hop Brewery Tours, and Jesse Moffitt Entertainment. If you would like to contribute to the continued success of this podcast, go to DaveHollyHour.com. At the bottom of the front page is the additional links section. Click on the orange button, Dave Holly on Linktree. You can order merchandise, become a Dave Holly Hour VIP, and make contributions to the show. The Dave Holly Hour is produced in the Dipsy Doodle Studios by Big D Entertainment.
Thanks for listening.